everybody, I'm HereticPlus, and welcome to the first episode of Gamespeak. These will just be episodes on my channel where I just kind of show some gameplay that I've taken lately, or gameplay that I maybe couldn't LP with or do something with that I want to find another use for, or that I might just have fired up and wanted to show you guys. This is actually gameplay of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which is an indie game that released on September 3rd, so just about a week ago. It is a fantastic game, as you might be able to see from some of the footage. The idea of it is that you control two brothers. Okay, the premise is you are two brothers, your mother drowned. I haven't beaten the game yet, by the way. And your father is deathly sick or hurt or something of the sort. He's in trouble. So you first bring him to a doctor who tells you about the mysterious waters of life, which are the only thing that can cure your father. But one of the really interesting parts about this game as well is that they don't actually have dialogue. Like, they'll say names. I think, like, they don't even say water of life. They say, like, gibberish, and then you hear the words, like, viva, and, like, I think you hear the words like wata or something, like vague, something that you would understand, but you wouldn't necessarily like be able to communicate. I mean, like a language with. So it was really interesting. I think it plays really well into getting you into the emotions of the game without having to bog you down with all the other stuff that goes along with it, because that's just not important. As far as the brothers go, they're very different. By the way, it is a fantastic looking game. It's sort of cel shaded. Especially in the Little Brothers model. It's amazing how well they make this game look. This game is only $15 on Steam, which is really impressive. By the way, for the most part, my channel now will focus on PC games, just because I've got a kick-ass PC now, and I'm ready to play some games. But, yeah, you basically move through this game. It's sort of a puzzle-adventure sort of game, where you actually, like, there aren't a whole lot of controls. Basically, the way that it works is that you control both the brother, the big brother, and the little brother by separate joysticks. So the left joystick controls the movement of the big brother, and the right controls the movement of the little brother. And then also the triggers are how they interact. So for example, if you interact with the big brother by a cliff, he might put his hands down, and then when you interact with the little brother, he'll kind of boost up off his hands and climb up on the ledge, because the little brother's not quite as tall. The game is absolutely fantastic, especially some of the cool little achievements when it shows village shots. It's really immersive. You meet a giant who's a friendly giant, and I love friendly giants. There are actually friendly giants in the book I'm writing right now. They're my favorite part of the book, which is kind of interesting because it's not necessarily what the book's about. But, yeah, so it's really a fantastic game. But that's not what this episode is completely going to be about. Obviously, I will talk some about whatever game that I'm kind of viewing, and let you see the gameplay while I talk. But also, I will have a topic, and today's topic is being gaming with a goal, being goal-oriented, and what kind of effect this has, and what has really happened to it. Because I feel like, especially with the advent of games now, you can get so many games for cheap. There are so many games. Much of the time, they're just a click away. Or you've got a stash, if you're anything like me, you've got a stash of 100 games, somewhere of all different systems, and you've only really beaten maybe 20 or 30 of them, especially like your Steam, your Steam profile, because my Steam profile, God, it's pitiful, like how many of those games I've actually beaten. I think I've only beaten like one or two of them, and granted, some of them I've beaten on the console version, but still, it's pathetic. How many games we play, we don't beat. But that's not necessarily what I mean by goal-oriented. Things like... Now, I think the achievement system / trophies is kind of an interesting thing to consider here, because they seem like goals, don't they? Don't they? But they're not your goals. You see, and there's nothing wrong with them. I love achievements. I love trophies. I've 100%ed quite a few games, and I felt proud from doing it. But what I'm more hinting at is back in the day, when there weren't achievements. When, you had this game and you would play this game for weeks, like the first time I played Ocarina of Time, and I just rode around in this world, finding stuff. I'd beaten the game a long time ago. I just rode around and made up my own little stories, I was like, hey, my goal is I'm going to try and, ride all around the world in a minute, or just crazy stuff like that, or like I'm gonna get all the gold scholarships, like back in the age where there wasn't just the internet to go look for it, and unless you had the God-knowing strategy guide, it was really impressive to do that, and all kinds of achievements and things, like just whatever makes you proud of what you've done. And I feel like now there's such an advent of going from game to game to game and never really stopping to enjoy them. Like, for example, Ocarina of Time, like I talked about earlier, one of my earliest goals was I'm going to try and get everything in this game. There wasn't an achievement for it. It wasn't something that had to be done, but it was an accomplishment. I can say, hey, I know where everything is in that game, and whether or not you think it's cool, I'm pretty proud of it, and if you're a fellow nerd, you think it's pretty cool too, hopefully, and what's more, though, because, I feel like the way that goals and achievement should be for gaming is it should be something that makes you really proud, and I feel like achievements kind of, they're not quite as sensitive in that regard, because I can look at your achievements and I'm like, dang, you've got like, 90 out of 100, and I've got like 62 out of 100, and the value there, that's a quantitative value. It's not a qualitative value, and I know there are things like gold trophies and silver and like different kinds, for how good they are, and in Xbox, it's more about points, but what I mean is like what it means to you, right? So like a qualitative achievement. Okay, by the way, qualitative refers to like the emotional value of something, like what it means. Like a life lesson that somebody learns would be a qualitative kind of achievement. It wouldn't be something where like you're like, well, I've learned lesson number 12 of my life. That's not how you keep track of that. So quantitative is about numbers. Qualitative is about necessary like the inner value of what it is. So like a qualitative value, like 100%ing Ocarina of Time is not that difficult. If you've watched my LP of the game, it's really not that hard. You just have to kind of know where things are and what to do. The game itself isn't that difficult around collecting everything, so it's not that big of a deal. But like, to me, when I did it, and to this day, like, I am damn proud that I did that, Like, I know it's not this huge thing. Other people might not feel like it was this huge achievement, but I do. And I feel we've really gotten away from things like this, because I don't play a game anymore where I'm just like, hey, I'm just gonna go try and do this. What do? I check the achievement list. Or I just say screw it and I just beat the game. But I don't go back and look for things, and if I do go back and look for things, it is almost always based around an achievement. One of the ways that I really saw this was evident was in Dark Souls. I loved Dark Souls. Dark Souls was an amazing game. It was so immersive, so amazing. By the way, I would heavily recommend that you check out Epic Name Bros lore videos. Also, like Vidya, I think, makes some cool ones. I'll try and remember to post the links there, but they make awesome lore about, like videos looking into Dark Souls lore, which makes the game altogether like a bajillion times more fascinating and cool. Like, it revitalized me to beat that game, and now I've got all the trophies, and I've beaten it like 6 times, with different kinds of characters in some cases, and like that was probably the closest I've gotten to a qualitative game in a long time, where I just wanted to see what was there. Like, I had this strange urge, like I knew I didn't have to do this, but I kind of want to. But on the other hand, it still had achievements. It was still quantitative, because I still, I went back. Why did I beat the game the last time? Well, I had to freaking like create Sif's or the Cursed Artorias greatsword because I made the wrong one another time. So quantitative games, I think, really kill gaming. And I think they can both exist, such as in the case with Dark Souls, but I feel like achievement hunting, when I've done it before, just kind of killed me for gaming. It made me like the first game that I 100%ed was Assassin's Creed 2. Like, I really liked that game. I thought it was a great game. But when I was done, after getting all the achievements, after getting all of the collectibles, I was so sick of it, and almost more so because after that, I 100% presented the first game, which was even more obnoxious. It had more flags and it was less fun. And it burned me out so bad. To this day, I have not played any more of those games because I really played through the first two with such a quantitative value. I played for so long without that love, without that wish to really just see what's out there and do more. And that's what keeps gaming alive. I'm not trying to crash and kill on the achievement system. It's a cool system. It's fun, to look at. I've certainly gone about it, but I feel like it does have a great negative, and that negative is that it does not get you as into your games. It just doesn't. It creates this little side thing that's not important to the game. It's not. I mean, it has no effect on the game whatsoever, in most cases. I know that Mass Effect did a cool system where, like, if you got the achievement, you could, like, edit your class with a new skill, which is really a really cool idea, Mass Effect. BioWare, I love you guys. You're a great thing. But, to this day, it burns you out of playing them. Like, a great game for me, Grand Theft Auto 4. By the way, GTA 5 comes out, like, next week. Cannot wait! I don't think it's coming out for PC, which really pisses me off, so I might have to buy it for PS3. But, oh well, that's another story. Like, GTA 4 is one of my all-time favorite games of this gen. Maybe ever. And I know that that's kind of interesting because most people who played an earlier one are like, San Andreas was so much better, GTA 4 sucked. But that was my first Grand Theft Auto game, and I loved it. The same way that people say about Final Fantasy. There are a lot of really great Final Fantasies in the 90s era. And I guess maybe 80s era combined too. Really good ones. And it kind of comes down to which was your first one. Same thing for Zelda. Like, a lot of people who played, say, Link to the Past first, think that's the best Zelda game. Or like me, my first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time. I don't think it's the best, but I certainly like it a lot more than Link to the Past, just because that was your first one. Same thing with Final Fantasy VII for me, was my first one, and what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so GTA 4, back on topic. Great game. I loved it. Played it for hours. Beat it multiple times. Did all kinds of extra stuff. Explored around. Did all kinds of cool little side missions and things. I did every single mission I could, even if it wasn't required. But then I went back because I wanted to get the achievements. The achievements. Yes, so I went back, and I did the one where you have to roll a car 5 times in a row, so I went to the airport, and I ran into a plane, so I'd flip it over and over again. It took me 4 hours to make it flip 5 times, which wasn't too bad. But then we got to things like collecting the doves. There were 200 doves around Liberty City. And Liberty City is quite possibly the largest sandbox for a game that's ever been created. Where there's not a loading screen required. It's probably the biggest one. Don't quote me on that. For all I know, Red Dead Redemption might be bigger. L.A. Noire I don't think is. I think it's smaller. But, just games, Rockstar likes to make big immersive games. So 200 pigeons hidden around the city, some in very inaccessible locations, and locations where you would never go to. They'd be hidden in a little alcove in a wall at the airport in a place where you don't have to go in the entire game on the 3rd story above a balcony. You would never go there. Ever. You wouldn't know it was there. And, while you could argue, hey, but that's why you explore the world, you could also argue, hey, this was an arbitrary way to keep me playing this frickin' game to get this achievement. It wasn't fun. It wasn't intuitive, it wasn't fun. And I gave up after 100 doves, I got all the flags in Assassin's Creed, I got all the feathers, all those things, but I was not going to do that. And collectibles are really the most quantitative achievement you can really have in gaming, in a way, and it just wasn't fun to me, and so it really made me think today about getting back to how we used to play games, recently I've been playing XCOM, I've been playing this game, at first I started playing on classic Iron Man difficulty, the difficulty that is recommended to be played at, and I was getting my ass kicked all the time. Okay, so back what I was talking about. So I've been playing XCOM, getting my butt kicked on this classic Iron Man difficulty. getting my butt kicked, knowing full well I can play on normal. But classic is the way that it's supposed to be played, right? So I'm thinking to myself, I'm not looking at achievements, but I really want to try and beat this game on impossible. It's such an uphill climb. I'm not that good at this game. I'm really not. I mean, I'm not bad, but just little things like the strategy behind it, right? Like playing StarCraft, because I'm a big StarCraft 2 fan and player. Playing the game is one thing. You can play the game, get through the campaign, even do kind of okay in multiplayer, but once you start implementing things like build orders, right? The metagame, a plan, that's when you really skyrocket and be good. And that's what I don't have in XCOM. I haven't figured out, hey, what continent should my base really be in and why? For the grand scheme of things, not just what sounds nice, hey, what research should I try and get first, how should I go about skilling up my soldiers for challenges in the future? How many of each should I have? Things like that to make the time easier. I hadn't done that, so it's a huge, huge learning step. I thought to myself, this is not something that I can achieve very soon, but damn do I want to. This is not a quantitative achievement, necessarily. It's something that I really want to do, because it would be a personal accomplishment for me. Being able to achieve this thing in this game that can be really freaking hard. On normal, I can beat through it pretty easy. On classic, I get killed pretty dang quick all the time. So it's this huge step up that I have to inch my way towards and finally achieve without some arbitrary achievement system in place, just so I can say that I did that and tell myself that I did that. And that's what I mean by being a qualitative gamer, being goal-oriented with the right kind of goals to really feel accomplished about your gaming. And that's just one example. You could take many others. You could kind of go back in the day before achievements, I don't know, like in Final Fantasy VII, and you're I want to get all the materia. To be entirely honest, in that game, only 20% of materia is really all that amazing. A lot of it might be kind of useful at one point, but you get better stuff, and you never use it again. For example, enemy skill is probably the best materia in the game. I wonder if you could beat the game using only that materia equipped, because you probably could, most likely. Just things like that. Fire, bolt, ice. It's not useful. It's really not. Things like, oh, but I've got the life spell. Yeah, use whatever the revive thing is that fills hole. Hey, use that. It's just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why use mana? Use it for free. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But just getting everything in that because you can do it, because you wanted to do it, you wanted to try it. It wasn't said hey, if you do this, you get 20 achievement points. It was I'm just gonna do it. So I'll challenge you guys. I'm gonna leave you guys with a challenge with almost every episode of this that I do. Here's my challenge: the next new game that you play, do not open up achievements, trophies, anything. Just play the game. Just play it, and look about as you will, and try and think about what this game makes you want to try and do, right? Think about that as you play, and see if you can't stumble across some qualitative goals rather than the quantitative of just, hey, look at this, don't get stuck, WoW questing, right? Playing World of Warcraft, and going from fetch quest to fetch quest and kill 10 boars, and then after that go and kill 3 lions, Don't do that. Go friggin' explore Azeroth, that kind of reasoning. You're not there to get the little quest, you're there for the experience. Have the experience, and that's what a qualitative achievement is all about. So, thanks for listening, guys. There'll be more videos in the future, and I hope you enjoyed this one. So until next time, this is HereticPlus, signing out.